Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Michael. We're very excited to have you joining us this morning on a hot morning.
Hot morning. It's been hot like every day.
It has. It undoubtedly has. But that's Virginia for you. Mm-hmm. It is a hot. It is
no
hot
complaints.
And humid.
No complaints. It's just simple.
It's just a statement of fact.
Exactly.
It just happens to be very warm in Virginia this time of year.
But there's a lot of things you can do in warm weather, right?
Exactly. You can get an iced cafe con leche.
You can get iced cafe con leche. You could go out at night and go see the opera.
You certainly can. You can go see Tosta, which is what I was able to do this past weekend. Really fantastic. So it was a great, and it's funny because obviously we've been having some interviews with Charlottesville Opera over the past couple of weeks, just learning about it, and finally, and really not finally, but early on, I was like, this sounds amazing, so I need to actually go, and it was just incredible. Like, you sit there, for those who haven't experienced opera before, it's surprising how quickly it actually passes by. You might sit there and think, oh my goodness, I need to listen to people sing a story for 3 hours. But really, it's engaging, it's exciting. There's words on the side that tell you, because they're sitting in Italian.
Okay.
So there's words on the side of the screens that kind of tell you, what's going on. It's translated into English. Mm-hmm. You can understand what's happening in the story. The story, like, it's also the acting kind of conveys what's happening.
Yeah.
It's easy to pick up.
Operas have always been famous for basically having these storylines where it's easy to follow without actually understanding.
Exactly. Very dramatic story. You got your love, your intrigue, your drama.
Yeah.
Very villainous person this time around. You have a true villain in the story. Judah, along with some of the other audience, booed him at the end. But they clapped, but also booed the guy who played him because he was so villainous. So it was just really, I can't say enough about how well the performance.
How would you compare seeing Tosca to seeing Guys and Dolls?
It's different. Like, Guys and Dolls is much more. They were both fantastic in terms of the dancing, the singing. Really,
there was dancing in
no
Tosca?
dancing in Tosca,
okay.
But like Guys and Dolls had the dancing component and great singing. Tosca, obviously, you then get to a new level of singing because there's no mics and they're just booming, and it's a different style of song, obviously. But the trade-off is that one is more playful, the other is much more dramatic. I mean, there's a knife, which may or may not be used to kill somebody.
Well, this way you could spoil it.
That's true, yeah. There's a knife, there's murder, there's someone jumping off a roof. So it's, there's a fake execution that turns out to be real, so it's tragic. So there's a lot that just of emotions that you go through in the course of Tosta, because you're like, oh no, this is terrible. Oh yes, they're going to be saved. Oh no, this is a tragedy. So it's a lot goes into it. Guys and Dolls is a little more, you're not really worrying that it's going to turn out badly. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's more popcorn entertainment.
Exactly. You're not sitting there saying, "Oh no, this could end terribly" in Guys and Dolls. So it's a different kind of experience. But really, just the quality of the singers and the performers was fantastic in both. The lighting was excellent. The costumes. I mean, they really looked like. I mean, we had Alex Schrader on last week talking about how he really wanted to make you feel like you were in the time period in which it's set, because so Puccini writes this early 1900s, it's taking place in the 1800s.
Okay.
And they really looked like out of the 1800s, the costumes, the designs.
I always love that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it reminds me of like Renaissance fairs when everyone's kind of dressed up.
Exactly. So it was really fantastic in that sense, and they just did a great job. So the singing, the songs were amazing. You really feel for them. And I couldn't say enough about how well it was done.
So three thumbs up for Alex?
3 thumbs up, exactly. Well, I went with 1, 2, 3, 4 other people, so 5 people times 2 thumbs, 10 thumbs up.
10 thumbs up.
Everybody enjoyed it, even those who were seeing opera for the first time, because I've seen it on film but not on stage. And even the friends we went with who had never seen opera in any form, like they maybe have listened to a song on Spotify, were amazed by it. So well done. So
opera
really
always has a special place in all our hearts.
It does.
I remember our Norna used to love operas, and it was funny because she especially loved Italian operas because she spoke Italian. And it was funny because every once in a while we'd be watching one with her, and they would put subtitles on the bottom in English, right? But as while Norna was listening to it, she would start trying to explain what was going on to us.
Yes.
Remember, she'd be like, "Oh, Norna, this is what's happening." We're like, "Oh, it's okay, Norna. We know. We're reading the subtitles. It's okay." But she always felt the need to explain it to us because she was all happy that it was.
Which is remember, she couldn't read the subtitles.
No, she couldn't read the subtitles, but she was hearing it in Italian. She's like, "Oh, they don't know what's going on." But like, no, it's okay. We're reading the subtitles.
We figured it out. Some fun times.
Good times.
But so it was really well done. So definitely would encourage people to check it out, to begin to follow Charlottesville Opera.
Mm-hmm.
But there's going to be I'm sure there will be some other things going on, especially, and then you can learn about that. It's only a matter of time probably till we find out what their next season is. So So be sure to keep an eye out.
Can I ask you a question? Do they release like videos of it or like recordings or like?
Good question.
Reruns?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure there's a recording of the whole thing that comes out. But there's probably snippets you can see to get an idea of what it's like.
Yeah.
And some master classes and so forth.
Interesting.
To get an experience of what it's like. So really would encourage people to follow Charlottesville Opera in that vein.
Yeah. It's sad. It feels like the season comes and goes so fast.
I know.
It does. It felt like, just yesterday we were all excited, like, oh, Guys and Dolls is coming. And then it just like, Guys and Dolls and Tusker just flew by. And now it's like.
Absolutely. So it's, it was great. Can't say enough about it. But done an exciting show lined up for today as well. Of course, always a big thank you to Emergent Financial Services for presenting us. And B, it's just like the smoke over the past 2 days has been messing with my allergies. I'm like...
I thought you just were getting so worked up emotionally
I was just so emotional about Tosca that my eyes started
You were reliving
watering.
it. You were beginning to cry.
No, I did. Like,
the smoke was really bad. What was it, 2 days ago?
Yeah,
3
Monday,
days
Tuesday,
ago?
but it's been having my eyes like water up and stuff.
Yeah.
So if I do that, it's not. I mean, it's because I'm so emotional about Michael's back on the show with me, but
it was an emotional moment.
That's exactly.
We'll have to bring the tissue box next time and leave it out there.
The tissue box. Judah will play that violin music overlay.
He'll bring out his own violin.
His own violin. And singing that beautiful dreamer. But it's going to be a great show. Thank you to Emergent Financial Services. Of course, we love being powered by some great partners. Castle Hill Cider, Matthias Young Realty, Craddock Serious Insurance, our good friends, of course, Charlottesville Opera, and Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. Great show lined up. I'm ready to jump right in. We're going to have our guests later on in the show. We'll talk some finance. But we are excited to welcome this morning our first guest of the day, which is Anahi Hernandez from Anahi Beauty. Anahi, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, no, it's great to have you on. So for those who haven't met you before, who don't know about you, already, Johnny Ornelas, Amigo del Programa, he's liking and sharing this morning. He's the owner of El Mariachi, so he's already liking the show this morning. But for those who haven't met you before, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you decided to start Anahi Beauty.
Well, I'm from Mexico City. I'm 35 years old. I've been here in Charlottesville, and I've been doing hair for 15 years.
15 years.
I worked for Hair Cuttery for 11, and I've been out for myself with the pandemic that kind of pushed me to do all this and kind of try something different. It's been 3 years already.
Wow. So some great experience. And Johnny says, dice, suerte Anahi Hernandez en el show.
Thank
you. Buena suerte.
Gracias.
So what about the pandemic kind of inspired you or pushed you to kind of start your own business?
We actually, it was pretty hard. Nobody were expecting that it was going to take so long and it was going to be that difficult. So I had a very good group of friends, very good co-workers, and we just had to take the decision and jump in it. So it was like very hard because who wanted to open a business around that time?
Exactly.
And we actually found a very good place. I got together with a group of friends that they were like, let's do it. So that's how we end up in a little place on Commonwealth Drive in Charlottesville. And we all do kind of booth rental. We all have kind of our management on our hours, our clientele. So we had to our clients were scared, actually. It was hard to bring them out to the dark, from the dark, because we've been in our house and all that. So, but it worked out really good. I have very good response from my clients, and I'm pretty happy to be there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So what would you say is about unique about the way you work or the way you tend to approach what you do?
like what I did, it was like I put all my savings in it first, and then I kind of start getting my licenses and getting out there. I mean, it was hard because it was something very unexpected, very unexpected from everybody, kind of. So, but it's been working well, and I'm pretty happy. It's been growing. I have 2 kids that have been keeping me busy all this summer. So some things come first. And but my kids they're very understandable, very mature, and they support mommy too.
That's good. It's important. So many people, when we talk to like entrepreneurs, it's so important to have the family that's there to support you and understand and be there for you.
Exactly. That's how it is.
To do it. So what are the types of products and services that you have?
I've been focusing a lot of what my clients most of my clients, they're color. A lot of them, they're color services. And I do a lot of bridal makeup and hair. Like I go to different areas and travel and do weddings. So those are my biggest 2 strongest areas. I incorporate waxing and all that, including with other services. Like if my client is getting hair done and they want to get an eyebrow wax or something else, of course it happens. So my strongest is coloring and bridal.
Have you been doing a lot of weddings this year?
Yeah. With the pandemic, all that went down because nobody was getting weddings or doing weddings or anything like that. But it kind of picks up, and Charlottesville, Virginia is a very local, famous area to have beautiful, great weddings. So yes, it's been busy. Normally I tell my clients like book way ahead because Saturdays, most of the popular days, they're the first ones that goes. But yeah, it's been a lot better now. Yeah.
And when you do weddings, do you do like the entire like bridal party, like the bride and then her bridesmaids?
I do the family.
Yeah.
The bridesmaids and sometimes the little flower girls that they get their little hair done, and the bride and hair and makeup for anybody who requested. Yeah.
So what's the process like to work with you? So like, let's say like a bride or someone calls and says, "Look, I don't know what look I want."
We do something that is called a trial. So she brings ideas, she brings pictures, different kind of makeups, and we just set up a day and we try, and we just spend a couple hours working on her hair and her makeup just to try to make sure she gets what she wants the day of the event. And we just go from there. We just put all different ideas.
Okay, so trying to like you go through it the first time, like, and then the day of, you kind of already know.
Yeah, we already know what's going to happen, and because it depends on the weather too. Some people request makeup for summer. Some people request a more subtle makeup for winter. So it varies. And a lot of people I have done also, they are not from this area. So they travel, they come from other states to do weddings here. So we just have to work it up together. The day that they get here, we just take more time, or we just make it work.
Oh, interesting. Do you ever have a scenario where they're not prepared? Because I would imagine you have to take into account like the humidity and whether it's, especially in the summer, if it's going to be hot. Do they ever get where they come here and they're like, "Oh yes, we have to do something a little different because I didn't realize"?
Yeah, sometimes what it had happened, I also do quinceañeras. It's a very traditional event that we do for girls in our Latino community. And sometimes what I do most of the time is like I go to the event, like halfway to the event, and I retouch them up. Like I bring Barbie pins, hairspray, and I fix it back on, because sometimes the sweat, the humidity, and all that kind of, you dance and you have fun. So sometimes I bring stuff with me and we just touch it up in between our event. So
that has to be very helpful.
Yeah, so I bring my tools, I bring my stuff. We just find a corner space where we can touch it up, and the party keeps going.
Exactly, there you go, and everybody still looks good.
Yeah, exactly, because they most of the time they're taking pictures and family and all that, and of course you don't want to look bad on your special day. So
exactly. Betty Sia, loves the show. She loves watching you on this morning. Gracias por escuchar. Gracias por mirar el programa esta mañana. And so, what's it like at churches? We talk to this a lot of people sometimes. So you have the thing you do, which is you touch people up, you work with the brides, you work with the quinceañera. What's it like to have like the business in the background side to actually own your own business instead of working for somebody else?
Oh, it's grateful. It's very, very, very good. I love it. It just make me feel way better about it. I feel like I perform my services a lot better with not having somebody behind you, pushing you, controlling your hours, and telling you what to do. I mean, you do what you're inspired to do, and I do my job, and I do it with love because I love what I do. So I just go for it. So it's the beneficial working for yourself and managing your own business.
And have you always had this passion for doing like makeup and hair, or did that kind of grow over time?
It's actually pretty funny. My mom is a hairstylist too, so I grew up watching her doing this old 60s hairdos, and but since I was little, I was into hair, and she doesn't do it anymore. But yes, I grew up watching her and around her pretty much.
So in a way, you're kind of like it's in the family business, but now you take it to a...
Yeah, my mom is very proud of me. She kind of likes the fact that I kind of like what she did, and I just follow it.
Exactly.
Yes.
And made your own business out of it.
Yes.
Do you do any 60s hairdos for people or not?
I do everything, whatever my client asks me. Yeah, we make it happen. Yes. I have some people that they do like some kind of 60s events, like parties, and they require sometimes a little help when teasing and a lot of hairspray, and yes, of course I...
Is that when you call your mom up, you're like, come in, we
come and give me some ideas, right? Help me, you're great about it, like you're great with this. Yeah, she doesn't do it anymore, but she still do my daughter's hair. She braided and do things like that, so yeah.
That's fantastic. See, it's amazing. It's funny. It's always so fun to hear people that you have like the history in the family of like, yes, this is what we did, and now you learn from it and take it to new levels and do new things.
Exactly. Yes, that's how it's been, and we just hope to keep doing it.
Absolutely. Does the little one? Is she already?
She's been cutting her own hair also, and she's already. She loves what I do, and she's already, Mommy, do I be able to do all this when I grow up? I'm like, if you want,
Yes, awesome.
Yeah. When is she coming in to do her little apprenticeship?
Oh, when she chopped her veins, probably 4 years old.
Wow.
And probably a couple months ago, I just noticed a chunk of hair that was missing on her, behind her ear. So that told me that it's not going to stop right now.
The next level is coming.
Yes.
Muchísimas gracias. Blanca Suye Díaz likes the show. Walter Aguilera, gracias por mirar. Betty Cia dice, she is the best. So yes,
thank you, Betty.
Indeed. So you have many fans that are watching you this morning.
Thank you, everybody.
For the Latinos that watch, can I ask the question in Spanish?
Yeah, sure.
¿Tiene usted cualquier consejos para latinos o latinas que quieren ser empresarios o empezar su propio negocio, pero quizás no sabe cómo hacerlo o tienen miedo de hacerlo? ¿Qué consejo tiene?
No tener miedo y no quedarse con las ganas de hacer lo que quieren hacer. Yes.
Buenos consejos. Yeah,
no quedarse con las ganas, más que nada. Que lo intenten.
Yep, never. Don't be afraid, and never lose the desire.
The desire to do it. Yes, do it. Risk it. What can you lose?
Absolutely. So Anahi, this has been so fantastic. More fans watching the Ana Monreal. Muchísimas gracias. You just have so many fans out there. I guess we know why now, because of the great work that you do.
It's funny because when we go out with my daughter and I see people out there, I always, hi, how are you? And she's like, Mom, why everybody know you? I'm like, you're famous. I'm like, no, I'm not. They just know I've been here in Charlottesville for so many years. Yes, I went to school here, so I have a lot of people that know me in town.
Absolutely.
That's great people.
That's okay. You can play up the celebrity status to your daughter, but that's fine. That's fine. It's like, oh, yeah, maybe I'm a little celebrity. It's okay.
Absolutely. Well, that's what you want. It's very, the more people that know you, right, the word of mouth. Would you say, how do you market, out of curiosity? How do you reach new people? Is it mostly people tell each other?
Yes.
Or do they go on Instagram?
Yes, I have an Instagram that I keep it going all the time with my work. Sometimes it gets hard to be a owner, a hairstylist, a receptionist, everything yourself. Yep. So sometimes I take pictures and I post it, and sometimes I forget to take the after. So it's like, oh, damn it, she left. But yes, it's great. I manage it like that, and I told my clients I give business cards. I go to places, and if people ask, and I have such a great clientele where they actually give my cards and they pass them around and give information. So I keep getting new clients all the time. Yeah. That's the good way to kind of keep bringing new people into your chair.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's no better kind of person to do that than a current client who says, yes, she did such a great job, I want you to go there too.
Yes. Exactly. That's how it works.
The best. Oh, Diana Monreal, gracias, she puts 2 hearts.
Oh.
2 corazones from Diana. Muchísimas gracias. I love the audience feedback this morning. Fantastic. So, and before we let you go, last question always that I like to ask for people who are interested, they watch it and say, okay, I want to reach out, I want to get in touch or find you. Where can people find you and get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can go into my Facebook page and Anahi Hernandez, and they can also go into my social media. I use more for my business. It's Instagram. I'm located in Charlottesville on 2500 Commonwealth Drive. And they can contact me to 434-566-4688.
Perfect. So many ways.
so many ways
to get in touch. And Diana Monreal says, love her, she's the best. Santiago Gonzalez also is a fan watching the show this morning. So you got lots of us. There you have it. They say Diana says she is the best. So there you go.
I've been doing her mom's hair for a while.
Fantastic.
Such a sweet lady.
Anahi, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for the invitation, you guys.
Ha sido un gran placer.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias por venir. Okay, so now as we rotate here, it just inspires me all the time because, like, obviously, you know, with our dad being Cuban, right? It's just to see Latino and Latina entrepreneurs just thrive. I mean, here she is. She's been here for so long, works it, decides, you know what, I'm going to go out on my own. Family support, takes the risk.
I know. That's the interesting too. Takes the risk, and again, it's funny because the pandemic. Listen, you can't look at it any way except for a negative way, but it really did seem like it pushed a lot of people to really pursue their passion.
Do something
exactly.
New.
It's sort of like, you know, you sat there at home and kind of rethinking your life and saying, you know what, maybe I want to pursue this.
Maybe I can do this.
And then these entrepreneurs have these chance to pursue what they love, and it's really great to see.
And they do an amazing job. And now look how she's grown in the 3 years she's been doing this.
It's incredible.
So it's fantastic. It's fantastic. So we really appreciate Anahi coming on and really just inspiring. So for all those who are out there, whether you're a Latino entrepreneur or any person that wants to do this, you can do it. Absolutely. You can do it. And speaking of like new things, we can do new areas in post-pandemic world. AI. So we kind of wanted to bring this topic up today. We've had a lot of people asking, like you get people that'll ask, "Oh man, should I invest in AI? What is it? What do I do? I've been seeing it on the news, and people say you should buy this company or you should do that, and I don't even know where to go."
AI is also very complicated because there's different forms of how we kind of view AI, because everyone's probably at this point heard of ChatGPT.
Yep.
Like people consider that in some form AI, but is it not? I mean, it's difficult to really say. It's some sort of model that does it think? I don't know. It just
it's thinking is always the hard part, right? Because I think the problem is we have in our minds you have futuristic fantasy AI. So if you grew up with the Matrix, the Terminator, so basically you have these machines that they basically think like people.
Don't forget the original one, 2001: Space Odyssey.
Space Odyssey.
HAL 9000. HAL 9000. Yeah.
So Stanley Kubrick's Space Odyssey was the first to really, and it's the classic, right?
Yes.
Thinking machine goes bad, turns on people basically, on human beings, right? And so you have that, but then you have these things which are called AI, but don't really resemble.
No. They're not really thinking machines. They're more of replicating machines. Like, you can tell ChatGPT to write out a story in a style of some sort of director, and it will give you some original story, and that's how the director. But is it really thinking? It's not really creating something original.
So many sources.
Exactly. I mean, these supercomputers, whatever they're creating, it's just absorbing information and then pulling it out in a different way, but it's not necessarily creating.
Yeah. Does it? I guess the question is, does it give the simulation of thought? Like it can do things which appear to be the thoughts of a human being, or does it actually have thoughts of its own? Right. Which is, I think, the interesting part is, of course, there's a lot of applications for it. Regardless, that people want to get into, even if it doesn't turn into, a machine that really thinks and goes into your house and interacts with you as a robot and so forth, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do that. But I think one of the things that people often don't realize is that there's a good chance you may already have in your portfolio exposure to AI without knowing it.
What would be exposure to AI in someone's portfolio?
So, as an example, if you already are invested in a robotics fund, right? If you're invested in the S&P 500, Google is pursuing AI, Meta is pursuing AI, right? If you have those two companies in your S&P 500 fund, you are, in a certain way, you're exposed to companies which are pursuing AI. If you go by sector and you begin to go more heavily and say, well, I'm putting money into information technology sector, I'm going into a robotics sector, a huge quantity of robotics companies, basically AI is the other half of what they do. In other words, now they may not call it AI, they may call it algorithms, ways for robots to function. They may call it underlying software for their robotics companies. I mean, there are robotics companies where the robots make the robots. Like the new stream of robots is made by robots. So, and the human being exists only as a supervisor, right? That company may be using things which resemble AI, right? Particularly the AI that ChatGPT is, but which is not being marketed as artificial intelligence.
Exactly.
It's just something that they're using to do work in a different field.
Yeah.
So it's often interesting because you can often be exposed to that without realizing that you already are. So you're sitting here thinking, I need to find a company that says artificial intelligence in their name or on the first line of their Bloomberg profile or their LinkedIn profile. And really, that's not the case sometimes.
Yeah, because I think the scientific definition of sometimes of what they use as artificial intelligence isn't what the populace kind of thinks of as artificial intelligence. Like self-driving cars, technically speaking, you could define maybe in a realm, in an investing profile as artificial intelligence, but you're not creating cars that actually think. They're just basically all automatic. But they need such advanced, I guess, systems that it's kind of defined broadly as artificial intelligence.
Exactly. Well, and I came across a company that does, it's a private company, but they do marketing. But part of their marketing is they'll take algorithms which are similar to like a ChatGPT, but rather than just ChatGPT, of course, what it does is it goes and scours the entire internet, right, and all available sources. So in other words, when you're saying, can you write me a story or a speech, it's combining tons, like, write me, I just went to a pathology graduation, and you can write graduation speeches for pathologists by just telling ChatGPT, write a graduation speech for a pathologist, right? Of course, ChatGPT goes to the internet, finds what is pathology, what do they do, what would you have had to do to graduate, what are some jokes about it, and puts it in a speech. But you can take that idea of what they do, and there are companies that take it but say don't read everything. And they make it so that the algorithm only looks at like one book or sets of books and then generates information, answers to questions based on that. So let's say you wanted to look up like the Encyclopedia Britannica, right? Instead of saying, what you can do is like, you interact with this AI, but you basically just asked it, what is the answer to this question? Mm-hmm. But the only place it'll look is the Encyclopedia Britannica. Like, it won't look at Wikipedia, all internet articles, something that Michael wrote on the Emergent blog 2 years ago. It's literally just looking at one thing. Does you, as the end user, say, I only want the answer from this source. Mm-hmm. And it'll only give you the answer from that source without you having to read the book itself.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like if you fed AI the 7 Harry Potter books and said, if I asked you, like, what did Ron do, you know, what did Ron eat most of the time? Instead of going to the internet, it'll only look at the Harry Potter books and give you the answer to what Ron ate or what Harry's favorite food was. Yeah. But by reading the book so that you don't have to read the book. So it's very targeted, but it's using the same AI software as ChatGPT, but no one would ever call that AI. Like, you wouldn't say a thing that answers Harry Potter questions is AI.
That's not how we would define intelligence.
Exactly.
Per se.
But it's the same exact underlying algorithm. It's just you've limited its information to one book. So you can put that in a company. You can be like, I'm a marketing company, and I use AI so that on your website people can ask questions about solar panels or finances, or I think one of them was like the Catechism of the Catholic Church, that it'll only, instead of you reading this 1,000-page catechism, you'll be like, what does the Catholic Church say about X? And the AI gives you an answer to this question only based on that one book. So you can do these things.
It's like a more precise Google in some ways.
Exactly. So you can do these things, and you can even say, you know, I'm someone who knows a lot about this, and it'll give you a technical answer. You could be like, I'm a child, I want a basic answer, and it gives you the simplified version of the answer. So basically, you can use it as a company on your website, that the marketing people will help you do this, so that you can have like a chat feature on your website, but it's essentially AI. But it doesn't. When you don't invest in that marketing company, you're not going to think you're investing in AI, but you're investing in the equivalent of a chat GPT. It's just being used for a different purpose.
Are there any industries you could see in the future that could be threatened by, not threatened, but basically dramatically changed by AI? Like parts of our economy that are going to be forever changed if robots or advanced computer systems begin to think. Like, we had a client the other day come and say, you ever feel like our job as financial planners or financial advisors could be threatened by the merger of just AI models? That's like, you're like, this is what I want in my portfolio, and then it's like, okay, this is your answer.
This is your answer. Yeah, it's tricky. I think obviously our answer was that it really isn't forward-looking enough yet, right? It lacks the qualification. Like, there are already robots, investors that can look back at the past 20 years and say, okay, this is what you should invest in based on the past 20 years. The human being looks and says, okay, but I can pinpoint certain things that, from my experience, will not replicate. In other words, I can see as a human being where past information is no longer relevant to future results. Can AI do that yet? It's hard to say, right? It may not be there yet. Certain interesting ones. I mean, we were talking to some artists recently, who they were saying that they're not. They're worried about AI, but not completely, in the sense of AI can create images that look to have been painted by artists, right? But as an artist, they can see areas where it's not the same. In other words, they're good enough to see pictures and say, this photo was made by AI because I can see where there's a smudge here or the lighting is not right, and so forth. So it's so imperfect. There's a slight imperfection, or maybe too much perfection, you might argue, right? Where they can say that they, as an artist, can imagine certain people not wanting that image in their home. But their concern is that the average person might not be able to.
That's what I was about to bring up.
If you're scrolling on the internet, if you're an expert, you can tell that this picture is by AI. If you're an average person strolling, can you tell?
Can you tell? And think about how cheap it could be for someone to just sell AI-generated paintings.
Exactly.
And then here's the artist putting in effort, and someone's like, I'm just going to pay for the $2 AI-generated painting because I can't tell the difference between that and someone else's painting.
I've seen some marketing photos, right, where basically guy took a photo, you could take a photo of yourself, and AI will make like 10 images, each of which is slightly different based on that photo. So for your firm marketing, you can have you in a suit looking this way. You can have you outside.
Yeah,
like,
they
but
can do
instead
anything.
of paying a photographer $2,000 for a photo shoot, AI does, based on one photo, does the whole thing.
And you could do tons of things. We could say, oh, we want a picture of Alex looking like Napoleon or something like that. You get a picture of Alex, and then suddenly we'll have a nice poster of Alex
looking like Napoleon, right?
But even when you go into art, right, I'm even thinking about writing, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to write a short story, and then it's going to be like, all right, give me a story about a guy and a girl in the Christopher Nolan style time setting, but also give me like a Steven Spielberg type of feel and, and a Hemingway sort of story, like dialogue, and suddenly, boom, I have a story, and I go, I said, this is my story.
Yep. Well, there are literary magazines that have had to shut down because they've gotten an influx of submissions and they know that huge quantities of them are being written by AI, right? But they can't, it's hard to tell the difference, right?
Well, it's also how you prove that.
Yeah, exactly. When I think they can tell the difference at the final level, in other words, good story versus mediocre story that was probably written by AI, right? Because its fiction tends to be a little mediocre. But the problem is when you're in the initial screening, how do you screen out mediocre writer versus plagiarized AI? And how do you, like you said, how do you prove it? How do you prove that this was written by AI?
But also what I'm trying to get at is at some point when do people not really care? Like, let's be honest, there's a lot of teenage fiction or young adult fiction that's not very well written.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, does that get phased out now where it's like people are just creating their own stories? I mean, Amazon has its own self-publishing thing. You're just creating your own stories and releasing your own books, and the market is getting flooded with 1,000, instead of just used to be hundreds of different young adult, because it had to be at least halfway decent. Yep. Now it's like everyone could just chat GPT their own story.
Exactly.
Oh, I have an idea. Let me just put it into chat GPT and make a book about it.
Nicholas Urpí, watching the show, got a comment. He says, on this vein, Hollywood executives, because there's the writer's strike going on, Hollywood executives are looking into screenplays written by AI and removing writers altogether. So in other words, if the writers want to strike, they're like, fine, I can put 10 shows together while you strike written by a machine, and it might be just as good.
Well, yeah, that's also a testament, though, to how bad the writing has gotten in certain Hollywood circles.
Yeah.
I mean, and it is true. I mean, that's also what contributes, I think, to suddenly this rise of AI. I mean, AI can't create the next Van Gogh. No matter, if you understand, before Van Gogh existed,
cheap ones.
Yeah, you can recreate cheap stuff, but you can't recreate that. In the same way, like, you can't create AI, if War and Peace was never written, AI can't create the first War and Peace.
Yeah.
No, it can only recreate what's already been created. But the problem is, I feel like in today's society where we lack creativity, people just feel like, well, this ChatGPT doesn't look any different than the movie I just watched the other day. Exactly. Because it all feels the same.
I've even seen some actors on interviews saying they're a little worried about it. At what point can extras and side characters, or at least the lesser more people, be done away? At what point does AI combined with CGI get realistic looking enough that they're like, this part doesn't even need a person.
Yeah.
This one just needs a machine. It's kind of it can change industries you wouldn't think of. I think is the point we're trying to make. In other words, I think people immediately gravitate to tech. They're like, oh yeah, AI will erase the coders and the developers and the guys who write software and marketing people, but we don't often think of actors, screenwriters. We think the creative stuff is where you can't do AI, but in reality, where AI may not be able to do is in kind of mundane stuff. In other words, will it replace plumbers, electricians?
It can't.
It might actually be harder to replace those jobs than to replace creative white-collar jobs.
Yeah, well, it's funny because in the late 90s, early 2000s, we saw like the computer boom, and for the past 20 years, it seems like there's been a rise of jobs related to computers and everything. But in reality, those jobs might become almost obsolete in 20 years if AI begins to rise as it does, because then anything that you could do on the computer, there's a good chance AI might be able to do it better.
Exactly.
It's only really physical things like a construction worker, like AI. We haven't been remotely close to finding robots who could actually do that kind of work.
Yeah.
Or a plumber, like you said, or an electrician.
Exactly. What I'm thinking, like if you see some of the robots they create now, all the like anatomically correct robots that they do, their purpose is to talk to you, to speak, to pretend to be a news anchor.
They create some that can lift, but they're very, like, they can lift a box. They can't lift anything they just kind of claps and then they move.
Well, exactly.
And then they put it down.
And if you notice, they never made a robot like, there's no robot that can do, I'm thinking like the Mike Rowe, like hardest jobs in America, where he was like in the guy who has to clean out the inside of a cement truck.
Wow.
The robots they're making, you should give them super intelligence. They're not going to crawl into a cement truck and clean out the inside of a cement truck, right? So it's funny that ironically, the newest jobs may actually be the ones closest to obsolescence as opposed to older jobs, blue collar jobs, trades and things.
Yeah.
That, which is why we've talked about sometimes when we've talked with people from the scholarship program and so forth, that like, 4-year college is not knocking it, it's a great thing. But there's something to be said too. If your child is interested in a technical school, it's not the worst thing, because
no, it's not.
Those jobs, in fact, may be the least ones to become obsolete.
Yeah. Well, look at Anahi. You can't get someone, a robot, to cut your hair. Would you ever sit there with a robot? I'm not.
And even
if
you did, would you want it? Like,
no.
Is part of the reason that you go to a beauty salon. Like, part of the reason you go as a woman, as a guy, right, wanting to go in there, might actually be to interact with your hairdresser.
Well, there's a social interaction.
Exactly. Not to sit there for a robot to coldly cut your hair.
But even then, what I'm trying to say is, even just the physical point of having robotic arms come, you got like scissors and other stuff near. Like, I don't want some robotic arms. What happens if the machine malfunctions? Then you got scissor in your cheek.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and even if you got to the point that it was like better than people, like, you know what I mean? Like, it proved on a test that it was 99% effective, and the average hair cutter makes a mistake 10% of the time. So it's like, it's better. I think most people would still be like, nah, I'll still take the person.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of.
It's just, there's certain jobs that need a person. You just, like you said, you need to kind of see the person working, you need to talk to them.
And then you probably want a person.
Well, and it's funny, too, because just talking about that, like 5 years ago, everywhere you read it's like, oh, you should be learning coding, Now, the other day I read it's like coding's almost becoming obsolete because with these advanced computers, it's like, we don't need a coder.
How many, like, middle schools, high schools, like, pushed all, like, prep schools are like, we're going to teach our kids coding so they're ready to go computer sciences in college, and now you're like,
in 5 years.
Can AI code better than people?
Yeah. Especially when, like we're talking about, when you're lacking the creativity or the passion about what you're doing, whether it's writing or art, and everything's looking mundane and the same, AI can easily replace that.
Yeah. It's true. I think true originality is what's difficult to replace.
Yeah.
True creativity, and also I think just those good old-fashioned jobs that people do, and the interaction, like even what we do, right, in finances, right, part of what people want is to know that they have a person, that their financial advisor is kind of looking out for their well-being and actually cares about them. You could get AI that's perfect, and it will never actually care. No. You might code it to give the appearance of caring, but it will never actually care.
And be honest, you don't want it to care, because if it could care, then
you are in Terminator. Yes,
exactly. Anything that can love can probably also hate. So.
Exactly. You probably don't want emotional robots.
Yes.
So you're gonna at some point you're gonna be like, yeah, a robot could do all my investments for me, but I probably still want a person that actually cares about my life, and that will, I don't think that will change.
Yeah.
Got some more people watching today. Thank you. Some of our favorite viewers are logging in today. Olda Morris watching the show this morning. Rosalia Tardaro. Olda got some comments for us. They've been, obviously, a lot of robots and AI have been replacing communication, touch, love, eating. And it's true. I mean, these simulacra are like, which is, I think, more of an indictment about people being unable to find these things in humanity, that if you're turning to robots to provide them.
Yeah.
But she's a little inspired. She says, this is inspiring. So it would not be possible to wipe out humans 100%, right? And I think, well, hopefully no.
As long as we don't make them our plumbers and our hairdressers, we should be fine.
But I think to that point,
yeah.
I don't think seeing what I'm seeing in what people want, client-based, I don't think we'll get to the point where robots will do all the things that people do.
No.
I think there are still areas of the world where...
But there are certain industries that could change within the next 10 years, which is what we're talking about when investing. I mean, self-driving cars, if that gets cracked, it could change everything. I mean, think about Uber drivers. You're paying someone to kind of drive you around, but if some company could be like, I don't have to pay the driver, I could just get the car.
Just do that. Yeah.
The car can go get its own gas and then go pick up people. There's never a rest. An Uber driver needs to sleep.
I think a lot of it depends on us. Like for robots that are replacing, communication, touch, love, eating, what Olda's talking about, right? If we as human beings do a bad job of loving people, caring for them, if we do a mediocre job, then a robot will be able to replicate it. If everybody in your life fails to be nice to you and so forth, you might find more kindness from a machine which is pretending. But if we as human beings do a good job of doing that, actually act like human beings, then it's not replicable, is what I'm thinking.
Can we do that in the long term?
Yeah. We'll find out.
Find out.
Rosalia Tardaro watching the show this morning. Lucrecia Morales watching the show this morning. Lucrecia says, saludos amigos. Saludos, Lucrecia. They're one of the fantastic owners of sombreros right here in the downtown mall.
More entrepreneurs that we love.
You're scaring us now. But the issue is that do they convert humans into robotic beings? In other words, we become more cold and robotic.
Oh God, why? Yeah, you want to talk about those chip implants? Yeah.
Let's hope not. Don't.
Exactly. Yeah.
I always tell people don't. I know some people we've talked with on Jerry's show too about VR, virtual reality, things like that. And I always tell people don't put it on. Yeah. Don't put on the glasses with the thing, because I don't want to end up like the guy from The Matrix where he's eating the steak and he's like, was Joe Palantonio?
Yeah.
I know it's not real, but I don't care. I said, no. Don't
but that's not even the worst. The worst is not even knowing. You imagine living your entire life and then suddenly it's like, oh wait, I forgot to take off my glasses. Whoops.
Oops, my whole reality has been fake.
Yeah, it's
the whole time. Olda says, you got me going. I said, yes, we did.
Yeah.
We did. Our apologies.
Well, unfortunately, that's always the danger. As life gets worse, do more people feel my life is so terrible, I'd rather have a good virtual fake life than a
scary one.
Tough real one. So.
It's a scary one. But I guess, in closing, our recommendation would be before you go buy AI stocks or stuff, see what you're already invested in. And take a good look and say, A, is this already really investing in what they call AI? And B, what's the impact going to be on things I'm already invested in? Before you start looking for new stocks and so forth. That would be our tip of the day. Good advice. Our tip of the day. So, Mike, this has been fantastic. Yeah. Really enjoyed having this conversation with you.
It was very interesting.
Yeah, no, and thank you all our audience, Olga. Thanks for getting us going, keeping it going there. Continuing, just a couple of great continued compliments for Anahi. Olga Gonzalez says she's the best. Carolina Diaz Lopez says she is my friend, wonderful woman, she's amazing. So definitely, it looks like we interviewed a fantastic...
A celebrity, right?
Yeah, I know. Absolutely. We got some more great people coming on next week. Scott Cunningham from Living Earth School is going to be joining us, as well as Jess Sifitsari is going to be back. She came, we had her on last year from Painted Orange.
I think I remember, yeah.
But now she's going to be coming back talking about Local Link and some stuff that's going on, and so it's going to be it's going to be a great. We'll be glad to have her back and learn more about what's going on. Always love being on here with you.
Same, Alex.
It's always a pleasure. I don't know if it's you and me next week, or we'll find out.
We'll find out. It's a mystery. We'll leave it a mystery. This way you have to tune in next week to find out.
Exactly. You have to tune in next week to find out who's going to be on with Alex, or if Alex will even be here.
Ooh.
Oh, maybe I'll have been replaced by AI.
Alex will take a Bahama trip. Oh, AI.
Yeah, there'll be a little robot.
Yeah, ChatGPT version of Alex.
Exactly. We'll be on next week. But it's been fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thanks for your great questions and comments. As always, love being presented by Emergent Financial Services. Love our partners at Craddock Serious Insurance, Matthias Realty, Castle Hill Cider, Forward Adelante. Big thank you to Judah Whittaker behind the camera, always making it work.
He's real. He's not fake.
He is real. Judah Whittaker. I know you may not have seen him on our show, but if you tune into I Love CVille at 12:30, you will see proof that Judah Whittaker is a real person, and he actually is behind the camera. And I Love CVille Network set. Love being on it. And thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you all next week. But until that time, as we like to close it out on the show, hasta mañana.